I'm there.
Yep. All right, here we go. Live's back on. All right, go ahead, Mom.
Okay, the Gospel of John,
Yeah.
chapter 21. Okay. Afterward, Yahusha appeared again
Go ahead, Mom. Go ahead.
to his disciples by the Sea of Tiberias, also known as the Sea of Galilee. It happened this way. Simon Peter, Thomas, Nathanael from Cana, the sons of Zebedee, and two other disciples were together. I'm going out to fish, Simon Peter said. And they said, we'll go with you. So they went out and got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. Early in the morning, Yahusha stood on the shore, but the disciples did not realize that it was him. He called out to them, friends, haven't you any fish? No, they answered. He said, throw your net on the right side of the boat and you will find some. When they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of the large number of fish. They believed it to be about 153 fish. Then the disciple whom Yahusha loved said to Peter, it is the master. As soon as Simon Peter heard him say, it is the master, he wrapped his outer garment around him, for he had taken it off, and jumped into the water. The other disciples followed in the boat, towing the net full of fish, for they were not far from the shore, about 100 yards. When they landed, they saw a fire of burning coals there with fish on it and some bread. Yahusha said to them, bring some of the fish you have just caught. Simon Peter climbed aboard and dragged the net ashore. It was full of large fish. But even with so many, the net was not torn. Yahusha said to them, come and have breakfast. None of the disciples dared ask him, who are you? They knew it was the master. Yahusha came, took the bread and gave it to them, and did the same with the fish. This was now the third time Yahusha appeared to his disciples after he was raised from the dead. When they had finished eating, Yahusha said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you truly love me more than these? Yes, master, he said, you know that I love you. Yahusha said, feed my lambs. Again, Yahusha said, Simon, son of John, do you truly love me? He answered, yes, master, you know that I love you. Yahusha said, take care of my sheep. The third time he said to him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was hurt because Yahusha asked him the third time, do you love me? He said, Master, you know all things. You know that I love you. Yahusha said, feed my sheep. I tell you the truth. When you were younger, you dressed yourself and went where you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go. Yahusha said this to indicate the kind of death by which Peter would give esteem to Yahuwah. Then he said to him, follow me. Peter turned and saw that the disciple whom Yahusha loved was following them. This was the one who had leaned back against Yahusha at the supper and had said, Master, who is going to betray you? When Peter saw this, he asked, Master, what about him? Yahusha answered, if I want him to remain alive until I return, what is that to you? You must follow me. Because of this, the rumor spread among the brothers that this disciple would not die. But Yahusha did not say that he would not die. He only said, if I want him to remain alive until I return, what is that to you? This is the disciple who testifies to these things and who wrote them down. We know that his testimony is true. Yahusha did many other things as well. If every one of them were written down, I suppose that even the whole world would not have room enough for the books that would be written. some interesting things. I know Doug and I have discussed this, but I find it interesting. Does anybody have any thoughts about why Yahusha asked Peter 3 times this question? Because what comes to my mind is that Peter denied him 3 times. And I never thought of it like this before, but I'm wondering, because in my Bible, it has the caption, Yahusha reinstates Peter. So he's like reinstating him as, whatever you want to call him, the captain of the disciples or whatever you want to call him, the leader. But I'm just wondering that there's got to be a reason why he asked him this question 3 times.
Well, because Peter wasn't doing it. He said, shepherd my sheep. And then Peter's not getting it the first time. And he's like, basically he's saying, you need to spiritually feed my sheep.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's kind of like we don't get it the first time. He's going to keep saying it until we do it. That's the way I take it as. It's kind of like Yahuwah's going to say it until we get it.
Yeah.
He's sometimes Yahuwah knows he needs to badger us a little bit. Be like, listen, I told you to do this. Now do it. And he's saying it three different times in a row. And I don't know, maybe Peter didn't get it the first time, so now he's got to keep reiterating it to him.
The other interesting thing I think is, and it could be just my little sense of humor, but when you get the whole thing about Peter saying, what about him? You see the relationship here. They're almost like brothers. Well, why doesn't he have to do it? Why do only I have to do it? Like you just see that relationship of closeness, excuse me, between them all and all that.
Yeah. What I find interesting here is this is pretty much the end of John here, where he's saying you wouldn't be able to contain in books all the works that Yahusha did. So that obviously shows us that that really there's no way to compile everything he did.
Everything.
There's no way to, and that's kind of the point of it is, and I like the acronym that they use for Bible, basic instructions before leaving Earth. That's what it is.
That's right.
That's what I look at his inspired word is he gave us enough to go on as our life manual.
Yes.
And that's the purpose of it. And, not to say that there isn't other literature out there that helps us understand the context of our life manual. And, it seems like these miracles that were written down, that was enough to give us proof of who he was. And that's the purpose of these miracles being written down, is to pretty much enlarge our trust in him and who he is. That's the purpose of why these miracles were written down, was to be like, okay, this is who he is. This is,
Yeah, we're definitely given enough. That's for sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brother Joshua. I see you got your hand up. Go ahead.
No, if Yahusha was Yahusha before he came in the flesh, would you consider some of those miracles in his pre-incarnate form if John knew who he was?
Yeah. I would say a lot of those miracles he probably would have he probably was doing somewhere throughout the Tanakh time period in other cases. We just don't kind of see it because he's not really mentioned in our version of Genesis to Deuteronomy. He's not really mentioned by name, but we know that he's the one that split the Red Sea. He's the one that did all these other miracles in the Tanakh time period, because every time Yahuwah says, by my right arm, I did this.
That's the real way that I can comprehend. I mean, I'm sure he could have done it like in his carnate form, but that's really the only way that my mind rationalizes doing so much that you can't put it into books.
Yeah.
That is doing it from the beginning all the way up until now, all the way up until
Yeah.
to infinite time.
Yeah.
Fourth person
He
in the fiery
probably was doing even miracles that I guess they didn't feel the need to write down, I think is what John's literally saying there. He's like, there's so many miracles that he was doing on a daily basis, even in his human ministry, that if they were going to attempt to write it down, there wouldn't be enough paper or pen. There wouldn't be enough ink to write down everything he did. And probably we would never be able to memorize everything he did in a book that would be that lengthy of all the miracles he did. Pretty much, what was compiled is probably what Yahusha felt necessary.
Yeah.
That we needed to know what he did. And it's kind of like we read a verse in one of the portions of the past couple of weeks that talks about, I think it was from maybe Proverbs or somewhere where it talks about, I forget what it's talking about. It's like, no, Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy says, these things that have been revealed to us belong to us. Mm-hmm. And I take that even as like, we don't need to know everything.
Yeah, definitely.
We don't need to know every miracle he's done or did for it to be compiled into a book. Whatever he feels that he can reveal to us to give us what we need, that's all we need. And I think sometimes we kind of get distracted and we always want to search the mysteries of this world, and we kind of always want more and more and more, and we never get satisfied with what he gives us sometimes. And it's like that's why I think he said, whatever is revealed to you and your children belongs to you to do all the words of this law. Like, hear the whole conclusion of the matter, type of thing. It's like, so that's the way I look at it too. And, and really it's up to him to reveal to us other secret matters and secret things that he wants us to know. And, on the flip side, sometimes Satan uses that tempting he uses that against us, that we want to know so much. And sometimes he gets us into this dangerous area where maybe there's things we're not supposed to seek out. Maybe there's things we're not supposed to know. And sometimes Satan can use that to his advantage.
And Daniel was told, close the books.
Yeah.
Close the books, go lay down.
That's what's interesting too. And I use as my argument when people say, well, all the prophecy we'll ever have is just in the 66 books. And I'm, well, if that's the case, we have the book of Revelations was sealed. Okay. He tells John to stop writing.
Yep.
He tells Daniel to stop writing. So I'm just saying, I mean, if we're honest, there's certain things that he's kept from us for whatever reason. And obviously, technically, the book of Revelations is not even finished. Technically, Daniel wasn't even finished. And I really want to go back to reading 4th Ezra, because 4th Ezra, I believe, actually is a missing piece. I remember there's a prophecy in 4th Ezra that it claims even to be the missing piece of Daniel's prophecy of the 4 beasts. So, and it hints to Edom as the double-headed eagle. It hints to Edom as the eagle that was plucked from the lion and all that. So, and there it talks about the 4th beast kingdom and all that being Edom. Edom's the end of this world. Jacob's the beginning of the one after. So yeah, there's definitely there's certain things Yahuwah wants us to know, and other things, sometimes he reveals to us certain things later on when he feels like we can handle it. Sometimes he feels like he gives us too much knowledge. Sometimes we can pervert the knowledge he gives us. So, it kind of goes hand in hand. Yep. Go ahead, Joshua.
Isn't there part in Revelations as well where he says, do not seal up the words of this book?
Yeah. I might have misparaphrased that. Yeah.
I think there's both in Revelations. There's the part where he tells him to not mention what I think he says that the Malachim and Shamaim were saying something, and he wasn't permitted to write what they were saying. But then there's also a part that says, do not seal up the words of this book, for the time is near, or the time is at hand, or something like that.
Yeah, that's very interesting to me, because the Enoch in the book of Enoch, where he's talking, says, I've been showed the end of things unlike anyone else. I'm like paraphrasing. But he kind of alludes that he's seen things of the end times that no one else has seen that exact way. And it's kind of true. Some of the stuff he sees, you don't see any other prophet really seeing. And he's actually, what's interesting is, instead of being taken in the spirit, he's actually there in person, seeing those things, seeing those visions. He's actually in heaven, seeing those visions. So it's pretty interesting. But yeah, I remember that. John saw things from certain Malachim were telling him, no, don't write down what you just saw. So yeah. All right, here we go. Last part of our study today. Here we go. 1 Thessalonians chapters 1-4. I think what I'm going to do here is I'll have the Aramaic New Testament on the left, and I'll be having the ISR 2009 on the right. Let me just make sure my share screen's working here. All right, here we go. All right, so Shaul and Silas, or Silvanus, and Timothy, to the assembly of Thessalonica, in Alua the Father and in our Master Yahushua the Messiah, favor be with you and peace. Okay. We thank Alua always for all of you. We are reminded of you in our prayers constantly, and we recall before Alua the Father the works of your belief or trust, the labor of your love, and patience of your expectation, which are in our Master Yahushua the Messiah. For we know I'm making a note of this verse. This is a good one for predestination here. We know your election, brothers, beloved of Alua. So this is talking about predestination here. Okay. Because of your glad tidings, or good news, was not in words only, but it was to you also in power, in the spirit of set apartness. All right. And for some reason it does this every now and again. Okay. All right. All right. Yep. Spirit of set apartness, and in the true conviction. You also know how we have been among you for your sakes, and you imitated us and our Master, for you received the word in great affliction and in the joy of the spirit of set apartness. And you have been a model to all believers who are in Macedonia and Achaia. For the word of our Master has been heard from you, not only in Macedonia and Achaia, but in every place your belief in Alua is heard, so that we will not need to say anything about you. For they relate what an introduction we had to you, and how you were turned to Alua from the worship of idols to serve the living and true Alua. While you await his Son from heaven, Yahushua, him whom he raised from among the dead, he is the one who delivers us from the fury that is coming. Okay, so you could even say that's what we are saved from right now, is his wrath. But there's a difference between saved from his wrath and eternal salvation that comes when he returns. Okay, here we go. So 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 1. So okay, so, and you know, my brothers, that our introduction to you has not been for nothing. But first we suffered as we were abused in Philip, as you know. Then in a great struggle, we spoke the glad tidings of the Messiah with you in the boldness of our Alua. Interesting. I find that interesting. The Greek says the good news of Elohim rather than the Messiah. That's kind of interesting. Interesting. For our comfort was not from deception nor impurity. Okay, so nor impurity, nor by treachery or deceit, but as when we were tested by Alua to be entrusted with his glad tidings. So now it's the Father's glad tidings. Okay, so we speak not as we would please the children of men, but Alua who tests our hearts. I like that versus proves our hearts. I always never understood the old British why they use prove for test. I never understood that, but I like test a little bit better. For neither do we ever employ enticing speech, as you know, neither an occasion for greed. Alua is witness. Neither do we seek esteem from the children of men, not from you, neither from others, when we could have been honored as the apostles of the Messiah. But we were meek among you, even as nursemaid who cherishes her children. In this way, also, we cherish a long to give you not only the glad news of Alua, but our lives also, because you are our beloved. For you remember, brothers, that we were toiling and laboring in the works of our hands by night and by day, that we might not be a burden to any one of you. Okay. You and Alua are witnesses, how we preached the glad news of Alua to purify and rightly, and we were without fault toward all the believers. Just as you know that we have been like a father to each one of you, pleading with his children, we comfort our hearts and charge you to walk as it is suitable to Alua, who has called you into his kingdom and into his esteem. Because of this, we also thank Alua constantly that you have received the word of Alua from us, not as if you received the word of the children of men, but as it is truly the word of Alua, which is working among you by deeds in those who believe. And little footnote here from the ISR of verse 13 here, you can find a cross-reference. For 1 Thessalonians 2:13, you can cross-reference with Hebrews 13:21. All right. But you, my brothers, imitate the assemblies of Alua that are in Judea or Yehuda, these who are in Messiah, Yahushua the Messiah, so that you suffer also by the children of your nation, just as they did also of the Judeans or the Yahudim. Those who murdered Yahushua the Messiah, our master, and they have persecuted their own prophets and us, and they do not please Alua and have become opposed to all people. For they forbid us to speak. Here we go with the stupid Talmud garbage. For they forbid us to speak with the Gentiles, that they may live to fulfill their sins always, but fury has come upon them until the end. But we, brothers, were bereaved for a short time of your preference, but not in our hearts. We took all the more pains and much love to see your faces. And we willed to come to you, I, Paul, once and twice, and Satan hindered me. What's interesting is the Greek says us, the Aramaic says me. So
Mine says us.
Interesting. So for some reason, it's plural in the Greek and singular in the Aramaic. For what is our expectation, our joy and crown of our esteem, but you alone before our master Yahushua at his coming? For you are our esteem and our joy. Okay, before we go to chapter 3, I think Brother Joshua has something he wants to add. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I'm reading along with you in the Aramaic, and I think that the Aramaic is wrong because in verse 18, because if you read that whole verse, it says, and we wish to come to you, I, Paul, once and twice, and Satan hindered me. It jumps from we willed to come to you to just Paul alone.
Yeah.
Weird.
There.
Yeah. Yeah. So the us makes a lot more sense. Yeah. It could be a translation error too. I don't know why you would put little asterisks there. So I'm wondering if that's a translation issue. Let me see.
Because I think we should be part of the conversation.
What? Yeah, let me see here. I'll just see something real quick. I want to look at the Syriac Peshitta. I want to see if, yeah, it's a Peshitta problem. That's a very rare problem in the Peshitta. Rarely does the Greek ever is ever more accurate in a verse like that. So that's weird. Even the Etheridge has me there, so that's a little strange. So yeah, I would have to agree. This is the one time I would agree with the Greek New Testament. In that case, just the context, it makes more sense to be us there. All right, chapter 3 of 1 Thessalonians. And because we could not endure, we were willing to be left at Athens alone. So now they're in Greece. To send to you Timothy, our brother, a minister of Alua, and our helper in the glad tidings of Messiah, to fortify you and inquire of you concerning your belief, that none of you should be slain through these afflictions, for you know that to this we are set, or appointed this. For while also we were with you, we foretold you that we were to be afflicted, as you know that it has been. So basically the whole context here, Paul is actually saying we are appointed this. We are appointed to suffer for Messiah's sake. That's a little theme here so far. On account of this also, I not enduring until I had sent to know your belief, lest the tempter should tempt you, and we should have labored in vain. But now, when Timothy came to us from among you and gave us intelligence of your belief and of your love, and that you have a total remembrance of us in every season, and I desire to see us as we also to see you. On this account, we were comforted in you, my brothers, in all of our anxieties and all our afflictions because of your belief. Now we live, if you are established in our master, for what thanksgiving can we render on account of you to Alua over all the joy with which we rejoice on your behalf? Unless before Alua we supplicate exceedingly by night or by day to see your faces, to perfect what is wanting to your belief. But Alua himself, the Father of our Master Yahushua Messiah, will make straight our way to you. And he will cause your love to increase to one another and to every man, even as we love you. And will establish your hearts without blame in set apartness before Alua our Father, and at the advent or coming of our Master Yahushua Messiah with all his set apart ones. Now that's a key phrase right there, with all his set apart ones. So I believe that's referring obviously to the messengers, the heavenly messengers, the Malachim, as the set apart ones. So what's interesting about that is we are also called set apart ones in Revelations 12 and also Revelations 14:12. So there has to be a connection there. Why are we called that? But angels are also called that. That's a future study I would like to get into, and why I believe there's a connection there. And when we will actually literally be children of the Father, we are not physical children of the Father yet. We have not been born of the Spirit yet, literally. So anyway. Yep.
We will be soon.
Yep, definitely is. Chapter 4, verse 1. Okay, so it says, this is 1 Thessalonians 4. Hence, then, my brothers, we pray of you and beseech of you by our Master Yahushua, that as you have received of us how it behooves you to walk and please Alua, the more to increase, for you know those precepts we gave to you in our Master Yahushua Messiah. For this is the will of Alua, your set apartness, and that you be distant from all whoring, And every man of you know to possess his vessel in set apartness and in honor, and not in the passions of lust as the rest of the Gentiles who know not Alua, that you dare not transgress and defraud the one man his brother in this matter, because our master is the avenger of all these, as we have also before told you and testified. For Alua has not called us to uncleanness, but unto set apartness. Now, if there's any Christians watching right now, you might want to write down verse 7, because uncleanness is that is a broad topic of the law. Okay, that goes from ritual uncleanness, that goes from eating certain things we're not supposed to eat. That goes, it's not just sexual uncleanness he's talking about. So just wanted to make a note of that. That's uncleanness is a very broad topic within the whole Torah. You there's a lot of things that make you unclean. So just wanted to explain that. Okay. Therefore, whoever despises not the man he despises, but Alua, who has given you his set apart spirit. But concerning the love of the brothers, you need not that I write to you, for you yourselves are taught of Alua to love one another. So basically, Paul is saying, like, I really shouldn't have to write to you right now to love your brother. And so you do to all the brothers who are in Macedonia. But I beseech of you, my brothers, to excel, or more and more, as the Greek says, and study to be quiet and be occupied with your own employments and work with your hands as we have admonished you. So basically, don't be busybodies. That you may walk becoming towards the outward ones, and of man you may not need. Okay. But I will you to know, my brothers, that for those who are asleep, so now he's talking about spiritual sleep here, you should not have sorrow as the rest of mankind who have no expectation. Yep. For if we believe that Yahusha died and rose, so also Alua, those who have slept in Yahusha, will bring with him. Okay, so that's verse 14 there. But this we say to you by the word of our master, that we who remain, or who may be remaining. I don't like how it has maybe. That's added in there. No, that
we are left over at his coming.
Yeah.
So no way go before those who are asleep.
Yep. It says that we who remain at the coming of our master, which obviously shows that this is post-tribulation for any pre-trib people out there. Paul's literally telling you this is after the tribulation by saying we who remain. Will not precede those who have slept. For our master himself with the mandate, with the voice of the chief of the angels, that's interesting how it's worded there. It's kind of giving Michael a little bit of esteem there, with the voice of the chief of the angels and with the trumpet of Alua will come down from heaven, and the dead who are in the Messiah will arise first. And we who remain alive shall be caught with them together in the clouds to meet with our master in. Wow, that's interesting. They put expanse there. That's interesting. So I guess we got a little flat earther there in Etheridge. All right. Meet the meeting of our master in the clouds or in the firmament. So also always with our master shall we be. Okay. And wherefore comfort one another with these words. So this is the famous chapter pre-tribbers completely misunderstand. Paul himself is telling you we who remain will not prevent those that who are asleep, who are dead in Messiah. He's clearly saying that it's after the tribulation. The word remain literally means that. And the reason I mean, I've done videos on this before, but we could even go to the book of Proverbs where it talks about that. It talks about the righteous will remain in the earth. The wicked are taken. The tares are taken away. The righteous remain in the earth or be left behind in the earth. Okay. Go ahead, Joshua. I see you got your hand up. I don't know if that's a new hand.
I don't really know how to explain the difference that I'm seeing, but I just think it's interesting that the Aramaic, rather than reading be caught up in the clouds to meet Yahuwah in the air, it says we're caught up in the clouds to a meeting of our Lua in the air, or our master in there, or Yahuwah, whatever that's supposed to be right there. But rather than saying to meet him in the air, to a meeting of our, I know it's the same thing. It just seems in the
wording, yeah,
it seems to be more. It makes more sense in the
Peshitta.
Yeah, it does.
See here, let me just go to my OANT here just to see for myself. Yeah, those who remain, the coming of our master, we who have life shall not overtake those who are asleep, because our master shall descend from heaven with command of the voice of the archangel and with the trumpet blast of Alua, and the dead who are in Messiah shall rise first, and we who remain, who have life. So it's showing you right there, it's talking about who have life, and that's pretty. Why my phone keeps doing that. We who remain, who have life. So the who have life is pretty, that's different. That's actually talking about salvation. That's interesting. Because the Greek just says we who are left over, but it shall be caught up. But it actually, in the Aramaic, it says we who remain, who have life. That phrase "who have life" is referring.
It's still alive.
It's referring to salvation, though. In the Aramaic, though, because the "who have life," you'll see that word "life" being used interchangeably with salvation in the Peshitta. So I find that interesting in verse 17 there. A lot of the times it will say that it will actually refer to, I think it's in John chapter 3 of the Boucher translation. He uses life instead of salvation. So it's very interesting. So, okay, what is going on here, guys?
I powered mine down because I got tired of hearing
No,
it.
something's going on here. I don't know if it's no.
If we have money, we have life and stuff.
Yeah.
He is life.
Putting my notifications off there. All right, my bad about that, guys. So anyway, that's the end of our reading for today. So I pray you got something out of it, that it was edifying. So anyway, if you've been watching and you're still not convinced that it's not a pre-trib, the catching away, I would recommend you go to the YouTube channel. Check out a couple of videos that we've done in the past, that I on my own have done in the past. I would really recommend you look at the video Pre-Trib Rapture and Dispensational Theology Exposed, where I go step by step on why the pre-trib rapture is not biblical, and why it has to be literally immediately after the tribulations of those days, like Yahushua says in Matthew 24:29. So anyway, so check that out. Feel free to check that out if you want. For the rest of our brothers and sisters, just want to say have a great rest of your Sabbath. Shabbat shalom, everyone. And see you.